Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of One Album Wonders, the show where we take a look at bands who only ever released one album. All right, very important. Okay, that's the concept. We get lots of people putting things in the comments about, bands who had many albums but only one was really popular. No, this is bands that only ever released one studio record. Okay, could be a very known band, supergroup, lesser known band, doesn't really matter. Lots of underground stuff here we're looking at. A lot of really cool rarities from the 70s and 80s we've been kind of pulling out here. So this is episode number 12. This is probably going to be the last one for a while, or maybe forever, I don't know. Basically, I've got a few more than 10 here today. I think I've got a baker's dozen, 13 in total for you here today. Perhaps in a couple of months or whatever, I might revisit this. I need to kind of do some re-inventorying and kind of purging of some stuff that I just have no reason to keep anymore. If I come across more of these one-album wonders, I will definitely put them together and do another future episode. But for now, we're going to kind of leave it at this 12th episode, and I've got some cool ones for you here today. So let's take a look at them, shall we? So, starting off from 2006, Beyond Fear, self-titled. So this is the band that Tim Ripper Owens put together after he left Judas Priest, also kind of around the same time that he joined Iced Earth and then Yngwie Malmsteen, right? So debut album, only album that they've ever done. I don't whether he's actually considered, this was 14 years ago, whether he's actually considered doing another album with these guys, I don't know. He might have played some live. I actually saw them live once. They were terrific. Really good album, really good band, just good contemporary, classic heavy metal with Tim Ripper Owens' shrieking vocals over the top, lots of cool riffs. Very good album, very good metal album. I dig that a lot. Again, such a great singer. The problem with Tim is I love him, but he's like all over the place. It's like he doesn't stick with anything long enough to really, you have to get used to him being, okay, he's in that band or he's got this band or whatever. It's just every time you turn around, he's playing with someone else. Right? It's kind of crazy. All right, next up from 1977, a very cool band called Carnegie, Rock and Roll Symphony. Okay, this is the band started up by the Seymour brothers. I believe they were twins. Mark and Clark Seymour. All right. Total prog album. They both are classically trained pianists and vocalists. They lead this group that's got, you got another keyboard. So they're playing the pianos and singing, got all these multi-track vocal harmonies. Kind of sounds like Queen, a little bit like 10cc, Little Sticks, etc. Lots of pomp, lots of prog, plenty of mellotron and analog synths. Lovely pianos, multi-layered vocal harmonies, like I mentioned. It's only got 6 tracks. This is put out on the Shroom Productions label out of Texas. Very cool label that's released some really cool prog and hard rock rarities over the years. And again, apparently this album sold pretty well back in the day, and you can tell here, got the two pianos, right? The 2 grand pianos, and then all those lovely keyboards there. Got Moog, you got Mellotron, you got Hammond, all sorts of stuff. Really, really good album. All right, next up, we're going to go to Italy. Campo di Marte from 1973, self-titled. All right, this is, one of the Italian prog classics. One and done symphonic progressive rock. Lots of guitar firepower on this album. It actually rocks pretty well. Of course, the lyrics and vocals are in Italian. Plenty of mellotron, plenty of Hammond organ. Got lots of flute here as well. Lots of crushing guitar riffs, some acoustic guitar. Kind of reminds me, if you dig, like early Focus, early Jethro Tull, the more proggy Jethro Tull, maybe Museo Rosenbach, also another Italian band. Very, very cool album. Of course, this is the Mellow Records CD issue there. Very good stuff. All right, from 1999, it's kind of a supergroup. One album only, Vertu, Vertu. All right, pretty cool, kind of jazzy, fusiony, proggy, R&B-ish pop mix. Because, of course, you got Stanley Clarke on bass, you got Lenny White on drums, the 2 former Return to Forever greats. Richie Kotzen on guitar, a little bit of vocals. Richie, of course, was a up-and-coming player at the time. You got Rachel Z on drums also, on keyboards. And Karen Briggs Karen's playing on here. God, what is Karen playing on here? A little bit of vocals. Is she doing strings? I'm trying to remember exactly. Good mix of styles, great musicianship. Unfortunately, this didn't really go anywhere. Maybe came out the wrong time. I don't know. But, Karen Briggs on violin. I knew she was playing strings. So Rachel Z on keys, Karen Briggs on violin, Clark, White, and Kotzen. Quite good. Quite good indeed. I dig that. Next up, all right, from 1971, from Baltimore, Maryland, Maypole, The Real. Really good. This is lots of killer guitar work. Everybody in the band sung, so you had all these distinct vocalists. They did release, they did release a second album in 2008. But that was mostly made up of unused studio and live rarities from the early 70s. So I don't really consider that, it's an archival release that came out later on. But they only ever released one studio album of all new material, and that was this one right here. Really good rockin' album. Like I said, if you like the kind of the early 70s hard rock greats, you'll definitely dig Maypole. Quite good. Quite good. All right, I got these a little out of order here, so let me go back to my original number 5 on my list. So, Spring, self-titled. All right, really cool UK band. Early, lush, symphonic prog rock. Okay. Again, like I said, from 1971. They had like 3 guys playing mellotron. All right. Kind of sounds like the Moody Blues, a little bit of Barclay James Harvest. You got 6 and 12 string guitars, so there's lots of textures, lots of layers. The vocals are really good, melodic. When they're a little more mellow, they kind of remind me of the Police a little bit. Like the vocals kind of sound like Sting at times. Other times they're a little harder edged. A lot of great melodies. There's a very memorable songs, and like I said, loads and loads of mellotron. You got 3 guys cranking out the creepy, ominous mellotron sounds all over the place. Just, nice and symphonic. Really, really enjoyable album. 1973, The Incredible Hog, Volume 1. Look at that ridiculous cover, right? Really cool, solid British blues rock. Heavy blues rock power trio type of thing. Kind of like, maybe like Bloodwind Pig, Cream, early 10 years after, early Toll, that sort of thing. Got, nice big bluesy scorching guitar riffs. You got the big fat bass and the heavy drums. Quite bluesy, but still pretty heavy. Definitely enjoyable. Think of, like I said, a little bit heavier Cream. Perhaps not quite as virtuoso, obviously. Fun album, enjoyable. All right, going to Germany. 1972. I never know how to say the name of this band. Deschinn. D as in David, Schinn, Deschinn. Good bluesy German hard rock. Gotta love that kind of Roger Deanish album cover there. All right. 2 singers in the band. It's not quite prog. It's not quite heavy rock, but it is pretty heavy in spots. It's somewhat kind of krautrockish. Good guitar riffing throughout the album. It's just a good bluesy heavy rock album. Like I said, little bits of prog. It's crunchy in spots. Definitely a good bluesy hard rock record from that period. All right, 1972. We're staying the same year, except we're going to go over to the Netherlands for the Dutch band Cargo. Apparently a pretty sought-after LP here. All right. Heavy prog, I would say. All right. Got dueling twin guitars on here, occasional keyboards on some songs. If you love early, like maybe Argus era, Wishbone Ash, first couple albums of Wishbone Ash, definitely seek this one out. Lots of really good, like I said, twin guitar harmonies and things like that. Well worth seeking out. All right, from 1969, the band is called Hunger. Strictly from Hunger is the name of the album. Okay, so here's kind of a weird one. So this is a California, kind of like psychedelic garage band, right? So they recorded their only album in 69 called Hunger. And then they quickly reissued it because they had a new guy come into the band. They wanted to kind of redo the album with him. So, and that guy is actually future Lynyrd Skynyrd guitarist Ed King. Okay, so he comes in, they redo the album, they reissue it with his lead guitar work on most of the album. They retitle it Strictly from Hunger. All right. and re-release it. So if you get this is a CD reissue from Now Again Reserve, right? Now Again Records, yeah, Now Again Records, and they actually have both versions of the album on here, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of hear what it sounds like with and without Ed King. So a little bit different, right? But still pretty cool. If you love the late '60s, West Coast psychedelic sound. All right, here's a cool one from 1973 here in the U.S. Estus, self-titled. Kind of notable for a guy. Maybe you recognize him there in the picture. Maybe you don't. A guy named Mark Bell. Does that ring a bell? He would later wind up in the band Dust. Or actually, he was in Dust first, then Estus. And then he also became Marky Ramone in the Ramones, okay, on drums. Lots of big riffs, twin guitar solos, pretty strong vocals. Again, think of like maybe less southerny Lynyrd Skynyrd. Certainly Wishbone Ash comes to mind here. Certainly some of the riffing reminds of Zeppelin at times. Pretty good band. I actually think that this album, believe it or not, might even be a little more rockin' overall, start to finish, than either of those Dust albums. Even though both Dust albums have a couple of big heavy hitters on each album, for the most part, those albums really aren't all that heavy. This is actually pretty rockin' consistently. Good band, Estus. All right, All right, so let's go. 1977, Swiss band called Island. The album is titled Pictures. And of course, you guessed that right. That is some H.R. Giger cover art. The guy also known for doing the artwork for the Alien films, well, the first one especially. Also worked with Celtic Frost quite a bit. This was reissued on Ken Golden's The Laser's Edge label back in, I think the late 90s, right? I don't remember. Some late 90s. Like I said, band from Switzerland. Very cool, eclectic prog. No guitar player. There's no guitar on this album, but lots of keyboards. You got Hammond organ and Moog and Mellotron and lots of woodwinds. So you got like sax and flutes. Really good vocals. If you love Van de Graaff Generator, classic Van de Graaff Generator and classic Gentle Giant, really complex and just kind of like angular all over the place. Really cool band, very, very different. This is not your put on at a party album, right? But this is definitely pretty eerie, like I said, eclectic, challenging music here. Very, 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 very cool. And the last one I want to mention, I can't seem to find the CD. I know I do have it. I'm not sure. Like I said, I put all my stuff alphabetical, and they should have been in the P section in my jazz box, but they're not. And that is a band called Players from 1987. So this was like a one-off fusion supergroup comprised of Scott Henderson on guitar, and at the time Scott was like fresh out of Chick Corea Electric Band, and Jean-Luc Ponty. All right, you got T. Lavitz on keyboards, of course, fresh out of the Dixie Dregs. You got Steve Smith on drums. At the time, I think he was just out of Journey. And then Jeff Berlin on bass. Of course, Jeff played with Alan Holdsworth and, latter part of, was he in UK? God, I'm trying to remember. Jeff Berlin has played Bruford. He's in Bruford. So, really cool album. The album cover is kind of cool. It's got all of them standing on the front. If you can get it, it was on the old Passport label, I believe. I do have it on CD. Like I said, I just need to track it down. But anyway, I did want to mention it because George Lamy would be upset if I did not mention it. I told him I was going to talk about it on the show here. But really, really great to kind of hear. I mean, what a superstar lineup, right? Henderson, Lavitz, Smith, and Berlin. I mean, yeah, it's quite good. Like 80s fusion, if you like the Chick Corea Electric Band or Tribal Tech, that sort of thing. Kind of fits right in there. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, did Henderson go right from there to start Tribal Tech, or maybe Tribal Tech was going on right around the same time? I don't know exactly. But great album if you can track it down. It's rare as all hell. I bought that one at like a year or two after it came out when I first started buying CDs. It was one of the pack of like original CDs that I actually bought way back in the late 80s. So pretty cool. Glad that I still have it. So there you have it. 13 recommendations for you. One album wonders, bands that only ever released one album. So go and track some of these down if you can. They're all well worth it. All right, some really good listening here. And on more than a few of these, I wish some of these bands would have continued, because the first album is classic enough that it would have warranted a second, but it was never to be, right, for various reasons. So make sure you visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. If you want to make a contribution to the channel, we've got the Ko-Fi link below for donations, as well as the link to our merch page where you can buy t-shirts, hoodies, hats, stickers, coffee mugs, all that good stuff. So coming up, what do we have coming up? So if you're all interested in kind of the Halloween season like we're going through here in the U.S., tomorrow morning, I will be guesting on Jeff Young's Music Without Boundaries radio show. Okay, jeffyoungjams.com. It's a Halloween-themed show. I'll be on a short segment on Jeff's show, kind of talking about some kind of spooky songs and some of my Halloween horror and monster film recommendations for you this Halloween season. If you haven't been following the Monsters Den episodes here, I've been recommending all sorts of spooky, scary movies with either by myself or with some great co-hosts. So check those out as well. We've got more Monsters Den coming up. So Rich Catino and Chris Allo are both coming back on the show Thursday evening. Chris and I are going to talk about some cool Italian horror classics from Mario Bava, Dario Argento, and Lucio Fulci. And then Rich and I are going to be doing part 2 of our look at some classic Hammer horror films, the great British horror film company from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that's coming up later this week. I also am going to do a separate episode giving you a whole bunch of recommendations of classic Boris Karloff horror. Okay, maybe some of the ones you haven't heard or haven't seen, because there's a lot of really good ones that aren't like the big ones you always think about, like the Frankenstein films and the Mummy. So we're going to kind of go a little bit underneath all those for the second tier films that are definitely worth your while. So stay tuned for that, and more music stuff coming. Chris Allo and I also over the next, we might not get till early next week, but we're going to be ranking the albums of Nightwish as well as Epica. That's also happening. We've got, I'm going to announce it now because it's coming up in a couple weeks. We've got another 2 episodes lined up, viewer appreciation days. Okay, so we've got Anthony Ferrara is coming on the show in a couple weeks. He and I are going to rank the studio albums of the great Steve Hackett. Okay, that's coming up. And then Dawn the Chaldean is coming on the show, and she and I are going to each give our favorite 10 songs sung by the late, great Ronnie James Dio. So that's anything that Ronnie ever sung on, okay? Any bands, we're each going to pull out our 10 favorite tracks, and we're going to talk about them here on the air. So that's coming up as well. So stay tuned for all this good stuff. And there's more that I didn't even mention. But it's too much to talk about, too much to see, but you don't want to miss any of it. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends. Make sure you sign up for the notifications so you get an email every time that we post something new. And please make sure you go check out our playlist. All right, we've got 6+ years of video archives, well over 1,000 videos here on the channel. So if you're curious about something, whether I've done it or not, or whether I'm covering for it, or we're going to be covering it, please either do a quick search on the channel or go check out the playlist. Chances are I might have already covered it. And we've got new stuff to talk about too. So we've got the brand new release from Neil Morse review coming. We've got the brand new release from Armored Saint. That is coming. New Joe Bonamassa should be in here any day. We've got the brand new release from Fish. That is coming. We've got the brand new release from Motor Psycho. That review is coming. So lots of good stuff here, guys. So you don't want to miss anything over the next couple days, next week or so. A lot of things happening. So we'll see you all real soon. Have a good one. Take care.